Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. NASA had seen many strange things in space, but nothing like the signal that came on a quiet night in November. It began as a soft pulse on the screen, like a heartbeat from a giant creature sleeping in the dark. The control room was almost empty when Dr. Aiden Ross noticed it. He was tired, drinking cold coffee, and checking routine data that usually showed nothing exciting. But this time the numbers were too perfect, too clean, too alive. The signal repeated every 13 seconds with exact precision, never changing, never bending, as if the universe itself was breathing in time. Aiden felt a cold shiver move through him. Signals from deep space were usually messy. They were full of noise, broken waves, and natural interference. But this one was different. It was structured, organized, and intentional. It felt like someone was knocking on the door of reality. At first, Aiden thought it was a glitch, maybe a faulty sensor or a misread frequency. But the more he watched, the more uneasy he became. He opened old archives, searching for anything similar, and his heart stopped when he found something impossible. The frequency of the signal matched an ancient pattern discovered years ago in old human DNA. An unexplained sequence scientists could never understand. They had called it the first light code, thinking it was just a random accident of evolution. But now the same pattern was coming from the edge of the universe. Aiden stared at the screen, whispering, "How is this even possible?" The room felt suddenly colder. It was as if the universe had been silent for billions of years and had finally spoken, and it spoke in the language of humanity. When the senior staff arrived, they were shocked. NASA had protocols for alien signals, but no one expected something like this. The director, Elizabeth Grant, listened carefully as Aiden explained the DNA connection. She asked him if he was sure. Aiden nodded. He was more than sure. The room filled with tension. If the signal was truly connected to humans, then the universe knew about humanity long before humans knew about the universe. That idea alone changed everything. The scientists worked through the night. They decoded the structure of the signal and found another surprise. Hidden inside the waves was a set of coordinates, numbers pointing to a location far beyond any known star system, a forbidden area of space with strange gravitational distortions, a region no human probe had ever reached. They did not understand how such precise coordinates could be hidden in a cosmic pulse, but the meaning was clear. Someone or something wanted humans to go there. The signal grew stronger as if it sensed their interest. Monitors lit up with strange symbols, circles, and lines forming patterns no one had seen before. Aiden zoomed in and felt his breath catch. The symbol on the screen matched one found in prehistoric cave paintings on Earth. This was no coincidence. Somehow ancient humans had drawn the same shapes thousands of years ago. Aiden felt sweat on his hands. It made no sense, yet it was real. The director ordered full secrecy. Only a small group would know the truth. She approved the plan for a special mission. NASA began preparing a starship capable of traveling to the mysterious coordinates. This operation was named Project First Light. The team worked quietly, avoiding attention, but the signal refused to stay calm. Over the next days it changed rhythm, no longer a simple heartbeat, but something more like a voice trying to speak. Machines began picking up faint echoes inside the signal, almost like a greeting. It gave the whole team a strange feeling, like the universe was aware of them. Aiden could not stop thinking about the DNA match. Was humanity connected to something ancient out there? Something older than stars? Something waiting? During a late-night test, Aiden stayed alone in the control room again. The signal on the screen pulsed brighter than before, glowing like a rising sun. He leaned closer, studying the waves. Then, suddenly, the signal shifted. For the first time, it reacted to him. The pulse slowed, then sped up, then stabilized exactly when his heartbeat changed. Aiden stepped back in shock. It was impossible. A signal from the other side of the universe should not be able to respond to a human on Earth. But it did. A moment later, the control screens flickered. Every monitor in the room turned black, then lit up with a single glowing line of text written in a language Aiden had never seen before. He blinked. The letters rearranged themselves, shifting shape until they formed simple English words. The message was short. Only 2 words. Welcome home. Aiden froze, his heart pounding. He whispered into the empty room. Home? What does that mean? But the signal gave no answer. It only pulsed softly, almost warmly, like a distant memory calling across time. And in that moment Aiden understood one thing clearly. Humanity was not as new to the stars as everyone believed. Something out there remembered them, and it was waiting. NASA's decision came fast because the signal was growing stronger every day, becoming louder, clearer, and more demanding, like a call that refused to be ignored. Within 1 week, the entire Project First Light team was moved to a restricted underground base where a single starship had been quietly built for deep space exploration. The ship's name was Odyssey 1, a long silver vessel designed for faster-than-light travel. It was the most advanced machine humanity had ever created, but even it was not meant to travel as far as the coordinates in the signal. Still, there was no choice. If someone or something was calling humanity from the edge of the universe, they had to answer. The crew selected for the mission was small but extraordinary. Dr. Aiden Ross was chosen because of his connection to the first light signal and his unmatched understanding of the strange DNA code hidden inside it. Leah Stone, the pilot, was known as the best in NASA, fearless and calm even in the most dangerous tests. Marco Alvarez, the engineer, was a genius with machines, able to fix anything even with broken tools. And then there was Echo, the ship's AI unit, a smooth, emotionless voice meant to guide the ship during faster-than-light jumps. Echo was new, experimental, and built using fragments of unknown mathematical patterns found years ago in ancient human ruins. That detail alone now felt important. On launch day, the crew walked toward Odyssey, one with heavy thoughts. The air around them felt different, tense, as if the world itself knew they were about to cross a line humans were never supposed to cross. Reporters were not allowed. Families were told a simple lie. It was a normal research trip. Only a few people on Earth knew the truth, that this mission might change human history forever. Inside the ship, Aiden placed his hand on the main console, and to his shock, a gentle pulse responded under his palm, like the ship recognized him. Marco joked that it was only a sensor test, but even he looked uneasy. Leah took her seat, eyes sharp, ready for anything. When the engines powered up, the entire base trembled. A bright wave of blue light wrapped around Odyssey, one as it prepared for the faster-than-light jump. Echo spoke in its calm voice. Destination locked. Coordinates aligned with external signal. Initiating jump sequence in 10 seconds. 10 seconds felt like a lifetime. Aiden wondered if the universe was watching them. When the ship jumped, everything outside turned into stretched rivers of light. The crew felt a strange vibration inside their bones, like the universe was touching them. Leah held the controls tightly. That was rough, she said, but the ship kept moving smoothly through the corridor of bent space. For a moment everything felt peaceful. Then the vibration returned, stronger. Echo suddenly spoke. Unknown interference detected. Pattern resembles first light signal. Aiden leaned forward. The screens on the ship flickered, showing the same symbol they had seen on Earth, the one from human DNA and ancient cave walls. But now it was brighter, almost burning with meaning. Marco tried to adjust the stabilizers, but the symbol kept appearing again and again, as if the ship was being scanned. Aiden whispered, "Someone is watching us." Leah shook her head but did not disagree. The deeper they traveled, the stranger space became. Stars stretched into strange curves, and shadows moved where shadows should not exist. Soft echoes ran through the ship's walls like whispers coming from far away. Echo announced that the signal had changed again. It appears to be reacting to our presence. That sentence made everyone silent. A cosmic signal, thousands of light years away, reacting to them in real time? It was impossible. And yet it was happening. Hours passed without rest. The crew took turns monitoring the instruments. Aiden noticed something disturbing. The interference waves were not random. They were following the ship like a trail. Something out there was matching their speed. Leah ran a scan, and her face turned pale. "There's another object behind us," she said quietly. "Moving fast. Faster than light, like us." A cold silence filled the cabin. Marco checked the readings again and frowned. But there is no heat signature, no engine trail, no normal energy output. It's not using technology. They did not know what that meant. Echo tried to analyze the object but failed. Unknown structure. Unknown physics. Trajectory locked on Odyssey 1. The words trembled through the cabin. Something was following them. Something that did not belong to human understanding. To break the tension, Aiden tried to reason. Maybe it's part of the signal. Maybe it's guiding us. But his voice lacked confidence. Leah increased speed, hoping to lose the object, but it matched every move, always staying just out of reach, like a shadow glued to their path. The crew felt the pressure of unseen eyes watching them from behind. The feeling grew stronger, heavier, almost suffocating. Then suddenly a blinding wave of light swept across the ship. Alarms rang. Odyssey 1 shook violently. Echo shouted, "Object has approached within 1,000 kilometers. It is now scanning the ship." Leah's hands flew across the controls, but she froze when she saw the external cameras. There was nothing there. Nothing visible. Just empty space. But the sensors insisted something massive was there. Aiden felt a chill crawl up his spine. "It's invisible," he whispered, "or beyond our senses." Before anyone could speak again, the external lights flickered. A strange sound echoed through the ship, low, deep, like a distant horn calling from the dark. And then the invisible object sent a pulse, one single burst of energy that hit Odyssey, one like a whisper. The ship did not take damage. Instead, every screen in the cabin lit up at once, showing the same chilling message they had seen on Earth. Just 2 words: "Keep going." The crew stared at the glowing text, fear and curiosity mixing inside their hearts. Whatever was following them did not want to stop them. It wanted them to continue. But why? And what waited at the end of the coordinates? No one could answer. But Odyssey 1 kept flying into the unknown, deeper than any human had ever gone, into a place where the universe itself felt alive and watching. Odyssey 1 drifted out of the faster-than-light tunnel with a sudden jolt, as if the universe itself had grabbed the ship and pulled it back into normal space. Leah steadied the controls, while Marco checked engine status, but Aiden was staring out of the front window with wide eyes. What he saw made his breath stop. In front of them floated a structure so massive that it filled half the sky, a ring of broken metal and stone larger than any planet they had ever seen. It stretched across space like the bones of a dead god, silent and ancient. Pieces of it drifted slowly, torn apart by time and cosmic storms. Yet even in ruin, the structure looked powerful, majestic, and impossibly old. Echo scanned it and spoke in a flat voice. Structure age, unknown. Material, unknown. Estimated construction date, older than current universe expansion. That sentence alone made the crew fall silent. Nothing was supposed to be older than the universe. And yet here it was, standing like a forgotten monument to something ancient. Aiden pressed his face closer to the window. There were markings on the broken edges of the ring, long glowing lines, shaped like spirals and circles. They looked familiar, too familiar. His heart raced. He had seen these symbols before, in ancient caves on Earth, carved by humans who lived thousands of years before writing even began. The same symbol that appeared in the first light signal was carved everywhere, glowing faintly as if remembering something lost. Leah whispered, "It looks like a gate." And she was right. The ring was not just a structure. It was a colossal gateway made for travelers, for ships far larger than anything humanity had ever built. Marco muttered, "But who built it? And why is it here?" Aiden answered softly, "Maybe the same ones who sent the signal." Echo interrupted with new data. Energy readings detected deep inside the ring. Unknown power source. Signal resonance matches the first light pulse. The signal was coming from inside that ancient gateway. Aiden's hand shook slightly. Everything was connected in ways that made no sense. Humans had symbols of this ring on their ancient walls. Humans had the first light code in their DNA. Humans were being called to this place. Why? As Odyssey 1 moved closer, more details became visible. The inside of the ring was hollow, stretching into a tunnel lined with floating shards of metal and stone. Some pieces were shaped like old towers, some like statues, and some like pieces of machines long dead. It looked like a battlefield frozen in time. Aiden wondered if something terrible had happened here long ago. As they reached the center of the ring, the ship's lights flickered. The air felt heavy, like pressure building around them. Aiden felt a strange sensation in his chest, as if something inside him recognized this place. He did not know how or why, but he felt it deeply, almost painfully. Echo reported strange energy spikes that matched Aiden's heartbeat. Leah looked at him with concern. "Are you all right?" Aiden forced a breath. I don't know. It feels like I've been here before. But that's impossible." Before anyone could respond, a sudden burst of light flashed across the ring. The entire structure vibrated, waking like a sleeping giant. Lines of golden energy flowed across the metal, connecting the broken pieces for a moment before fading again. It looked like the structure was trying to activate itself after thousands of years of silence. The ship shook violently. Marco grabbed the console. "Something is pulling us in." A swirling vortex of energy formed in the center of the ring. It was not like a black hole. It was brighter, softer, and somehow inviting. Leah tried to steer away, but failed. The ship was trapped. Aiden stared at the vortex and felt goosebumps. The pattern inside the light was the same as the DNA code, the first light pattern. "It's reacting to us," he whispered. But then something even stranger happened. A voice echoed through the ship. It did not come from the speakers. It came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time, like the sound was inside the walls, inside their thoughts. It spoke in a calm, almost gentle tone. "Welcome back, children of the first light." The crew froze in shock. Leah whispered, "Children of the what?" Aiden felt chills all over his body. The voice felt ancient, older than stars, older than time, and it was talking to them like it knew them. Marco asked nervously, "Echo, where's that voice coming from?" But Echo answered with something that made them even more afraid. "Source unknown. Signal frequency identical to human DNA code. It is speaking directly to your neural patterns." The ancient structure was not only calling them, it was speaking to them in the language of their own bodies. Aiden felt the air buzzing, as if memories he did not have were trying to wake up inside him. Was this place somehow connected to humanity's true origin? Before they could speak again, the ring lit up completely, blazing like a new sun. The vortex expanded, pulling Odyssey one deeper into the unknown. The ship groaned, alarms blaring, the crew tightly gripping their seats. The ancient voice whispered one final time as they crossed the threshold, "You have returned." And then everything went black. Darkness wrapped around Odyssey, one like a thick blanket, cold and endless, as if the ship had fallen out of reality itself. Aiden could not tell if the blackout lasted 1 second or 1 hour. When light finally returned, it was not the normal white glow of the ship systems. It was a soft golden haze surrounding everything, warm and alive, almost like sunlight underwater. The crew slowly opened their eyes. Leah touched the controls, but the panels were dead. Marco tested the engines, but they would not respond. Echo spoke, but even its voice sounded distant. "We are inside an unknown energy field. Systems are functioning, but external control is blocked." Aiden looked outside the window and felt his heart skip a beat. The ship was floating inside a vast sphere of shimmering light. Around them were floating pieces of what looked like technology. Massive crystals, metal fragments, strange glowing shapes that seemed half material and half energy. It felt like they were inside the memory of an ancient machine. Before they could make sense of anything, the golden haze formed patterns, swirling into shapes like falling sand. Then the same ancient voice spoke again, calm and clear. "Do not fear. You stand within the memory chamber of the first light." Leah whispered, "Memory of what?" The haze brightened, forming a huge image in front of them, an image of a star, young and burning, but surrounded by strange structures floating like guardians. The voice continued, "Before your recorded history, before your first steps on Earth, your kind lived among the stars." The crew stared in disbelief. Aiden felt frozen. His mind struggled to accept what he was hearing. Humanity was not new. The voice spoke again, as images shifted like pages turning in a giant cosmic book. They saw tall figures made of light, walking on vast platforms above nebula clouds. They saw cities floating between stars, powered by something beautiful and bright. They saw starships larger than mountains, traveling across galaxies. And then something impossible. These light-filled figures slowly changed shape until they looked human. Your ancestors, the voice said, were known as the Light-born, the first children of creation. You were not born on Earth. You arrived there when the stars fell into war. Images shifted into darker scenes. Gigantic shadow creatures moved across space like storms, their forms twisting like living darkness. They attacked the Light-born cities, spreading destruction. The enemy, the voice explained, feared your power, for from the first light, your kind could shape reality, bend energy, and touch the fabric of creation itself. Aiden felt chills. This was beyond anything humans ever imagined. The images turned violent, massive battles in space, beams of light clashing with waves of shadow, entire star systems burning. The Light-born fought bravely, but the darkness kept growing stronger. To protect what remained, the voice said softly. The Light-born hid. A great exile began. A chosen group traveled to a young planet, your Earth, where they sealed away their power and memories so their enemy could not find them. Leah covered her mouth. We were hiding. The voice replied, your kind forgot the truth, as was planned. The first light slept inside you, waiting for the moment when the universe would need its children again. Aiden felt a strange warmth spreading through his chest, the same feeling he had felt when they approached the ring. Why tell us now? He asked. The golden haze brightened. Because the enemy returns. The shadows have awakened, and they have sensed your presence. Marco stepped back, fear in his eyes. You mean the dark things from those visions? They're still alive. Yes, the voice answered, and they believe the Light-born are rising again. The ship shook suddenly, as if an earthquake had hit the chamber. The golden haze flickered. The ancient voice sounded urgent now. They have followed your signal. You must prepare. Leah looked out the window. Something moved in the distance, dark shapes slipping through the golden light, like silent predators. Aiden felt his throat tighten. Those shapes were wrong, like living shadows, too smooth, too cold. Can we fight them? Aiden asked. The voice answered calmly. You carry the first light within you, but it sleeps. You must awaken it. A pulse spread through the chamber, and for a moment Aiden saw a flash of something inside his mind, like a memory buried deep within his blood. A city made of stars, a tower glowing white, a voice calling his name, but not the name he knew. Then the vision vanished. The ship shook again, harder this time. Alarms blared. Echo's voice became sharp. Incoming contact. Approaching fast. The golden haze dimmed, and the ancient voice spoke with final urgency. Remember this truth, children of light. You were not created on Earth. You returned there. And now you must rise again. The haze shattered like glass, the memory chamber collapsing as Odyssey. One was thrown violently back into normal space. The crew gasped for breath, lights blinking wildly, alarms screaming, all while the dark shapes drew closer, hunting them through the stars. Odyssey. One burst out of the collapsing memory chamber with violent force, spinning through the dark like a tiny metal seed thrown into a storm. Leah fought the controls, her hands moving fast, trying to steady the ship. Marco yelled over the alarms, checking engine damage. Aiden pressed his hand against the window, staring into the blackness outside. The golden light of the memory chamber was gone, replaced by a cold, empty void that seemed to swallow everything. But the void was not empty for long. Dark shapes emerged one by one from the shadows, slow at first, then moving with unnatural speed. They were not ships in any normal sense. They looked like massive living storms, made of black smoke and claws of shifting darkness. Their shapes changed every second, as if they were alive, but hated the idea of having a true form. The air inside the cabin grew colder. Aiden felt a pressure around his chest, like hands squeezing his ribs. Leah whispered, "What are those things?" Her voice trembled in a way he had never heard before. Aiden remembered the vision from the memory chamber, the shadow creatures that destroyed the Lightborn cities. Now they were here, hunting them. Echo spoke in a low, strange tone. Entities matched the ancient memory data. Classification Drexer, primary enemy of the Lightborn. The name alone made the air feel heavier. One of the Drexer creatures drifted close to Odyssey 1, so close that its black mist brushed against the ship's hull. The lights flickered. The sensors screamed warnings. Marco tried to scan it, but the readings were impossible. Temperatures going from freezing to burning. Matter phasing in and out like smoke turning into stone and back into smoke again. How do we fight something like that? Marco shouted. Nobody had an answer. Another Drexer creature moved behind them, its smoky form stretching into long tendrils that wrapped around the empty space. Suddenly the communication system activated on its own. The screen turned black, then a shape appeared, something like a skull made of shadow, eyes glowing with cold silver light. The voice that followed was deep and slow, echoing as if coming from the inside of a cave. Lightborn, we have found you. The words made Aiden's heart freeze. Leah tried to cut the transmission, but the controls refused to respond. The Drexer voice continued. You should have stayed hidden. The age of Lightborn ended long ago. Surrender the vessel. Surrender your lives. The threat was delivered calmly, without anger, as if it were a natural law. Aiden stepped forward, unable to stay quiet. We are not your enemy. We don't even understand what this war was. But the Drexer only hissed. Ignorance does not save you. The Lightborn always rise again, and we always finish what we began. The ship shook violently as one of the Drexer struck the hull with a tentacle of shadow. The entire cabin trembled. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Marco checked the hull status and shouted, Direct hit. They're trying to break through. Leah pushed every control she could, forcing the ship to turn, to dodge, to escape. But the Drexer moved like smoke. It followed no laws of physics. They floated around Odyssey 1, circling like wolves studying trapped prey. Then something unexpected happened. A golden ripple of energy burst from the ancient ring behind them, the same ring that had brought them here. The wave expanded, creating a temporary shock that pushed two Drexer creatures backward. They recoiled, hissing, as if the light burned them. Echo suddenly spoke in a sharper tone. The ancient structure is attempting to defend you. Aiden felt a spark of hope, but it was weak. The Drexer regrouped fast, forming a tight circle around the ship. Their shadows darkened, turning space itself into a black prison. You cannot escape, the Drexer voice said again. The Lightborn are not permitted to return. Leah's hand shook, but she whispered, We're not dying here. Marco gritted his teeth and slammed a manual override. The engines roared. Odyssey. One pushed forward, breaking through the first layer of shadow. The Drexer shrieked, their voices echoing in the dead vacuum. Aiden felt something burn inside his chest, a sudden glowing heat. His vision blurred for a moment, and he saw something impossible. Lines of golden light forming inside the ship, shaping a protective pattern around them. The first light. It reacted to their fear, to their danger. He shouted, Keep going, Leah. The light is helping us. Leah didn't understand, but she trusted him. She pushed the engines to the limit. Another Drexer lunged forward, its shadowy claws slashing toward the hull. But before it could touch them, a burst of golden energy shot out from the ship itself, pushing the creature back like a blast of wind. Marco gasped. What was that? Our shields don't do that. Aiden felt the burning sensation grow stronger. He could hear something like a hidden pulse beating through his blood, calling out to the ancient power in the ring. The Drexer regrouped again, furious this time. You cannot awaken. You cannot return. The shadows closed in. For a moment it felt like the end. Then the ring behind them exploded in a final wave of brilliant golden fire, hitting the Drexer and clearing a narrow path. A thin crack in the darkness. Leah now. Aiden screamed. Odyssey. One dived into the crack, racing through the opening as the Drexer roared in fury behind them. The ship spun into deep space once again, bruised and trembling, but alive. And now the truth was clear. The Drexer were hunting them because they feared what humanity might become again. Because the Lightborn were waking. Odyssey. One drifted through space like a wounded bird after escaping the Drexer attack, its engines flickering, its metal shell shaking with every small movement. Leah kept her hands tight on the controls, fighting to keep the ship stable. Marco ran from panel to panel, trying to repair damaged systems. But every time he fixed one thing, another alarm began screaming. Aiden sat quietly for a moment, feeling the strange warmth still burning inside his chest. It was the same golden heat he had felt when the first light protected them. He did not understand it, but he knew it was connected to the truth the ancient voice had shown them. They were Lightborn, descendants of a forgotten civilization older than human memory. The ship slowed as they approached a massive shape floating ahead. It rose out of the darkness like a giant temple, glowing with soft golden veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. This structure was smaller than the Star Gate, but still huge, big enough to hide a small moon behind it. Echo scanned it and spoke in a calm tone. Architecture matches Lightborn design. Energy level stable. No hostile activity detected. Aiden stared at it with wide eyes. This must be another piece of the ancient network. Leah guided the ship closer, carefully entering a long tunnel carved into the structure. Golden lights along the walls turned on automatically as if welcoming them. Odyssey. One landed softly in a large chamber. For the first time since entering this part of space, everything felt calm. The moment they stepped outside the ship, the atmosphere felt different. Warm, still, almost peaceful. The floor was smooth metal, but it felt alive under their feet, humming with energy that matched the beat inside Aiden's chest. The walls were covered in symbols, spirals, lines, and shapes that Aiden instantly recognized as the same symbols found in human DNA and ancient caves. Marco touched one of the walls and jumped back. It glowed under his fingers. "This place is reacting to us," he said, "to our presence." A pathway formed ahead, lit by golden lines that appeared one by one, guiding them like a trail of stars. At the end of the path stood a tall doorway. When Aiden approached, the doorway opened on its own, revealing a huge round room filled with towering crystal structures. They were suspended in midair, rotating slowly, glowing with thousands of tiny lights inside them. Leah whispered, "What is this place?" Aiden answered softly, "The memory vault." He didn't know how he knew the name, but it came to him instantly, like a memory waking up after a long sleep. As they stepped inside, one of the crystals flashed brightly. A wave of warm energy swept through the room, and the crystal projected a massive image in the air. It was a city built on a river of stars, shining like a living dream. Towers of white light rose into a purple sky. Bridges made of energy stretched between floating platforms, and in the center stood a great tower, taller than everything, glowing with the same golden light as the first light. The projection changed, showing the old Lightborn walking through the city. Their bodies looked human, but their eyes shone with soft light, and every step they took left glowing footprints in the air. Aiden felt his heart race. Something inside him recognized the place. He whispered, "This was home." Leah's eyes widened. "You mean this city? These people?" Aiden nodded. "Our ancestors." The projection shifted again. This time it showed small crystals being stored. Thousands of them. Memories, knowledge, history. Everything the Lightborn were. Marco whispered, "They saved everything in these crystals." Then the scene darkened. The city shook, towers collapsing as the Drexer shadows attacked from all sides. Lightborn warriors fought back, using beams of pure star energy. But the Drexer were endless, devouring light, swallowing hope. The ancient voice from before echoed, faintly through the vault. "We preserved memory for the day our children would return." Aiden stepped closer to one of the crystals. The moment his fingers touched it, light exploded around him. He saw flashes of battles, ships that could reshape space, Lightborn exploring galaxies, and a final moment where a group of Lightborn gathered around a giant sphere of golden energy. They spoke of hiding on a small blue planet. They spoke of sealing their powers, choosing to be reborn without memories so the Drexer could not track them. They spoke of Earth. When the vision ended, Aiden fell to his knees, trembling. Leah rushed to him. "Aiden, what happened?" He looked up, tears in his eyes. We hit ourselves. We became human so the Drexer would forget us. The vault began to shake softly, pulsing with light. The first light is awakening again, Aiden said. It's inside us. All of us. Marco looked around nervously. What does that mean? Are we supposed to use it? Before Aiden could answer, a warning appeared above the crystals. It was a message written in the ancient Lightborn language. Then it translated into simple English. The Drexer have breached the outer void. They are coming. The vault lights flickered. Outside the structure, alarms echoed like distant thunder. Aiden stood up slowly, his eyes glowing faintly with golden light. They're coming for us, he whispered, and we're the only ones who can stop them. The memory vault dimmed, preparing for battle as Odyssey One's crew rushed back toward their ship. The Drexer were close, and the light born within them were waking. Odyssey One shook as Aiden, Leah, and Marco rushed inside, the warning from the memory vault still echoing in their minds. The Drexer were near, and the ancient structure around them began to close its doors, like a living fortress preparing for war. Leah jumped into the pilot's seat, her hands moving fast over damage controls, trying to restart the engines. Marco strapped himself in and began routing power back into the shields. Aiden stood in the center of the ship, breathing deeply as the strange golden warmth inside him grew stronger, brighter, almost alive. Echo's voice filled the cabin. Multiple Drexer signatures approaching. Estimated arrival, 70 seconds. Leah pushed a button, but sparks flew out. Engines still rebooting. Come on, Odyssey, not now. Outside, space darkened. Black tendrils drifted like shadows, forming giant shapes, Drexer scouts. They flowed like smoke, twisting and consuming starlight as they came closer. Aiden felt his pulse match the soft glow in his chest. They want the memory vault, he said. They want the knowledge stored here. Marco looked at him. And they want you, don't they? Aiden swallowed hard. Yes. The first light inside me, it scares them. The ship trembled again as the Drexer scouts fired a blast of dark energy at the vault's outer walls. The ancient structure responded by glowing brighter, forming golden shields that resisted the attack, but not for long. A deep rumble traveled through the floor of Odyssey One. Leah, Aiden said softly, we need to leave before those shields collapse. Trying, she shouted, as the engine lights finally flickered back on. But before they could lift off, a huge shadow passed above them. The Drexer destroyer emerged, larger, darker, more terrifying than any ship they had seen. Its surface looked like broken glass, held together by darkness. Its center pulsed with a red core that sucked in surrounding light, like a black hole. Echo whispered, if that ship attacks, the vault will not survive. Aiden closed his eyes, his breath slow. He could feel something calling to him from deep inside the vault, a soft voice of his ancestors. It whispered one word, awaken. Aiden felt light fill his senses, bright and warm, and suddenly the entire ship lit up with a golden glow. Leah and Marco gasped as Aiden's skin shimmered like sunlight, his eyes glowing brighter. Aiden, what's happening? Leah whispered. I don't know, he said softly, but it's time. A sudden blast hit Odyssey One, throwing them sideways. The Drexer destroyer fired again, shaking the entire vault. Leah cried, we can't take another hit like that. Aiden moved to the center of the cabin and placed his hand on the control core. Instantly the ship brightened as if absorbing light from his touch. Echo spoke in awe. Energy levels rising. Unknown power source assisting. Marco stared at Aiden. Are you doing this? Aiden nodded weakly. Not me. The Lightborn inside me. Outside, the Drexer destroyer began charging for another massive attack. Aiden gritted his teeth and focused. The golden energy flowed from his body into the ship, filling the engines, shields, every circuit. The first light awakened inside Odyssey One, turning the old damaged craft into something new, something alive. Leah, Aiden said, take us up. The ship rose from the vault floor with a smoothness it never had before. Leah guided them toward the exit tunnel, just as another dark blast fired at them. But this time Odyssey One reacted on its own. Golden wings of energy formed along its sides, deflecting the attack like it was nothing. Marco shouted, "We're glowing. The ship is glowing." "Just fly," Aiden said. They shot out of the vault entrance like a beam of light. The Drexer scouts swarmed, but Odyssey, one moved faster than ever before, leaving trails of golden dust behind. Leah dodged shadow tendrils, spun through collapsing debris, and pushed the ship toward open space. The Drexer destroyer turned toward them, its red core glowing as it prepared to fire its main weapon. "Aiden," Leah said urgently, "that blast could wipe us out." Aiden didn't answer. Instead, he placed both hands on the ship's core and closed his eyes. Golden energy burst around him. Odyssey, one responded by forming a massive shield of light around itself. The Drexer beam fired, an enormous red-black wave of destruction. It hit the golden shield with a deafening explosion. Aiden screamed as the force pushed him back, but he held on. The ship shook violently, alarms blaring, metal groaning. Marco grabbed Aiden's shoulders. "Let go. You'll kill yourself." But Aiden pushed more energy forward. "If I stop, we die." The golden shield thickened, brightened, then shattered the Drexer beam like breaking glass. The explosion sent the destroyer spinning backward, its red core flickering in shock. Leah seized the moment. "Hold on. Taking us to warp." Odyssey, one shot forward, golden wings extending as the stars stretched into long bright lines. Behind them, the Drexer ships shrieked in the darkness. Aiden collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. Leah turned from the controls, eyes wide with fear and awe. "Aiden, what are you becoming?" He looked up, his eyes still glowing faintly. "Not becoming," he whispered. "Remembering." Marco swallowed. "Remembering what?" Aiden stared into the swirling warp lights outside. What it means to be light-born. Outside, far behind them, the Drexer destroyer stabilized itself. Its broken voice echoed across the void. "The Lightborn have awakened. Begin the hunt." The war had truly begun. Odyssey, one dropped out of warp with a sudden jolt, leaving behind a fading trail of golden light. The ship was trembling from the stress of the escape, its metal hull groaning softly like it was exhausted. Leah slowed the engines and guided them toward a quiet region of space, where no stars shone nearby, only a soft blue nebula glowing in the distance. Marco took a deep breath, still shaken from what had happened. He looked at Aiden, who sat on the floor with his back against the wall, breathing slowly, his skin dimly glowing like the last rays of sunset. "You pushed too hard," Marco said. "If you keep doing this, you won't survive the next fight." Aiden shook his head. "I didn't have a choice. The Drexer would have destroyed us." Leah turned in her seat. "Aiden, we all saw what you did. You turned the whole ship into light. That wasn't human. That was—" She stopped, unsure how to finish. Aiden lifted his eyes, the faint golden shine fading but still visible. "That was the Lightborn inside me trying to wake up." Echo's calm voice filled the cabin. "New information detected. A large energy signature nearby matches Lightborn frequency." Leah frowned. "Another vault?" Aiden stood up shakily. "No, this feels different. More ancient. More important." Odyssey, one turned slowly and moved toward the blue nebula. As they approached, the clouds of gas parted like curtains opening on a stage. Behind them floated a massive structure, bigger than the memory vault, bigger than the Stargate, so large it cast a shadow across empty space. It looked like a colossal ring made of white metal, covered in symbols. At its center was a sphere of soft golden light, pulsing gently like a sleeping heart. Marco whispered, What is that?" Aiden felt his chest tighten as warmth filled him. "The Echo Core," he said. "The first place the Lightborn created. The birthplace of our knowledge." The ring slowly rotated, creating ripples in space, sending tiny waves of golden dust outward. The moment Odyssey, one came closer, the golden sphere brightened. A voice filled the cabin, soft, ancient, and warm. "Lightborn descended detected. Access granted." Leah stared at Aiden. "It's talking to you." Aiden nodded silently. The ship drifted toward a large docking platform that extended from the ring, as if awakened by their arrival. When the ship landed, The lights inside the ring brightened, guiding them deeper. They stepped out into a vast hall filled with floating platforms and symbols glowing faintly in the air. It felt like walking inside a living star. Echo projected small holographic lines showing how the structure was scanning them, but the scans felt gentle, almost welcoming. Aiden's heartbeat matched the glow in the room. "This place knows who we are," he whispered. They reached the center of the hall, where a floating pedestal held a crystal sphere. Inside the sphere was swirling golden mist, light-captured sunlight. Aiden stepped closer, and the mist reacted, forming shapes, stars, planets, and then faces of ancient Lightborn. Leah asked in a low voice, "What is this?" The sphere spoke with the same warm voice. "This is the Echo Core, keeper of the first memories. Here is where your ancestors stored the truth of their fall." The sphere projected an image around them. They saw a galaxy filled with Lightborn cities, ships of light moving between star systems, and a civilization that glowed with peace and wisdom. But slowly the image darkened. A shadow crept in from beyond the galaxy's edge, the Drexer. They consumed stars, devoured planets, and rose like a storm of death. The Lightborn fought, using beams of pure energy, but the Drexer grew stronger with every battle, feeding on the light. The projection shifted again. A group of Lightborn gathered in the Echo Core, their faces full of fear and sorrow. One of them held a small sphere of golden fire, the first light, the same power inside Aiden. The ancient Lightborn spoke. "We cannot win this war. The Drexer are endless. We must hide our light, seal our powers, and be reborn on a distant, quiet world. One day, our children will awaken when the Drexer rise again." The scene ended. Aiden felt tears form in his eyes. "They sacrificed everything," he whispered. Leah touched the sphere gently. They believed their descendants would finish what they couldn't. The Echo Core dimmed as if agreeing. The Lightborn return. The Drexer rise. The final cycle begins. Suddenly an alarm echoed through the hall, loud, sharp, urgent. Echo spoke quickly. "Drexer ships detected. They traced our location." The lights inside the Echo Core flickered. A deep rumble shook the structure. Aiden stepped back, fear and anger mixing in his chest. Marco grabbed his arm. "Aiden, we need to leave now." But the Echo Core sphere glowed again. "Before you go, take this." A beam of golden light shot from the sphere into Aiden, filling him with warmth so strong he almost cried out. Energy surged through him like a storm. Symbols flashed inside his mind, commands, knowledge, forgotten power. He collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Leah rushed to him. "Aiden, what did it do to you?" He looked up slowly, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. "It gave me the awakening code, the key to unlocking the Lightborn inside every human." The hall shook again as the Drexer drew closer. Marco pulled Leah back. "We have to go. Now." Aiden stood, his body glowing with golden fire. "The Drexer know the truth now. They won't stop." He turned toward the exit. "But neither will we." As they ran back to Odyssey 1, the Echo Core lowered its lights, whispering a final message. "Go, Lightborn. Your destiny waits." And behind them, the shadows of the Drexer moved closer, ready for war. Odyssey 1 raced through the empty blackness of space, the golden energy inside Aiden pulsing like a heartbeat that could be felt throughout the ship. Leah kept the engines at full thrust, dodging the Drexer scouts that pursued them relentlessly, their shadows twisting and sliding through the void, following every movement. Marco monitored the ship systems, sweat running down his face. "Aiden, the shields won't hold much longer. The Drexer are preparing a main attack." Aiden's eyes glowed brighter as he pressed both hands on the console. He could feel the first light inside him responding to the danger, resonating with Odyssey 1's energy. "I know," he whispered, his voice trembling. "And I can stop them, but it's risky." Echo's calm tone cut through the tension. "Warning, full Drexer fleet detected. Estimated firepower exceeds current capacity. Survival probability low, without external energy source." Aiden looked out the front window. In the distance, a massive Drexer destroyer, larger and darker than any they had faced before, unleashed a wave of shadow energy that twisted space itself. "Leah, hold steady," Aiden said, feeling the golden warmth in his chest surge like liquid fire. He closed his eyes and focused. The first light inside him responded to his will, and the ship vibrated with an energy that felt alive. Outside, space seemed to bend around Odyssey, one as if the universe itself recognized the light-born awakening. Leah gritted her teeth, holding the controls. "I don't know what you're doing, Aiden, but I hope it works." Marco backed her up. "Whatever it is, just make it fast." The Drexer destroyer fired another enormous wave of darkness. Odyssey, one rocked violently, alarm screaming as the hull groaned. Aiden pushed the energy inside him even further. Golden light exploded from his hands, flowing into the ship, filling the engines, shields, and weapons with a blinding brilliance. The first light spread across the ship like fire on water, forming shields of radiant energy that flared outward, pushing back the shadow waves as if the universe itself was protecting them. The Drexer shrieked, their shadows twisting in pain. Another wave came, larger, more powerful, but this time the golden shield held firm, brighter than a sun. Aiden felt heat and power flow through him, connecting to every part of Odyssey One. Symbols he did not recognize floated in his vision. Ancient codes from the Lightborn, instructions for channeling the first light, knowledge older than stars. "Focus," he whispered. "Control it." The Drexer destroyer, sensing the power, launched its main weapon, a concentrated wave of darkness large enough to consume a small moon. Leah screamed, trying to steer the ship out of range. But Aiden held firm. He placed both hands on the main console, pushing the energy forward. The first light expanded from the ship like a growing sun, enveloping the Drexer wave and shattering it instantly. A golden shockwave radiated outward, throwing the destroyer backward, its red core flickering in alarm. Marco fell back into his seat, staring in awe. "Did you just destroy it?" Aiden shook his head. "Not destroy. Protect. The first light doesn't kill. It restores balance." The destroyer's ships began to retreat, hissing and twisting in confusion. But the main threat remained. The fleet would return, and the Drexer were relentless. Aiden could feel the energy inside him pulsing faster, louder, reaching a level he had never experienced. The first light was responding to the universe's call, connecting to every living being, whispering in a language older than time itself. He realized he could use it not only to defend, but to awaken others. "Leah," he said, voice strong despite exhaustion, "we can't just survive. We have to restore humanity's true power. We have to rise." Leah nodded, awe and fear mixing in her eyes. "Then do it. Show them who we are." Aiden closed his eyes again and let the energy expand beyond Odyssey One, reaching toward the distant planets, stars, and hidden corners of the galaxy. The golden light spread, scanning for the dormant DNA of the light-born within humans, activating potential, connecting them all to the first light. Outside, the Drexer fleet hesitated. They could feel the awakening, the power returning to the children of the first light. It was too strong, too ancient, and terrifying in its beauty. Aiden opened his eyes, golden and bright, and looked at the approaching destroyer. "This ends now," he whispered. He directed the first light forward, a concentrated beam of creation energy, not meant to destroy, but to restore the balance of life and light. The Drexer destroyer screamed as the beam touched it. Its shadows dissolved, not into nothing, but into harmless particles of light, returning to the universe. The rest of the fleet retreated in fear, realizing the war was no longer theirs to win. Odyssey One trembled from the energy release, the ship glowing like a living star. Leah grabbed Aiden's hand. "You did it somehow, you did it." Aiden nodded, though his body trembled from the effort. "The Drexer are gone for now," he said. "But this is only the beginning. The first light has awakened, and it has chosen us to protect creation." Marco leaned back, eyes wide. "We've just crossed a line humans were never supposed to cross." Aiden looked out into the endless stars, golden energy still flickering around him. "We didn't come to the stars to conquer them," he whispered. "We came to restore them. Humanity is not new. We are the oldest protectors of life, and the Drexer will remember that." The crew sat in silence, feeling the weight of the moment, knowing the universe itself had changed that day. The first light had awakened in humanity, and the war was far from over. But now they had power and knowledge, and the courage of their forgotten ancestors to face it. Odyssey. One floated silently in the aftermath of the first light battle, the golden energy still radiating from Aiden's body, bathing the ship in warmth and quiet power. Leah monitored the damaged engines, while Marco worked on shields, but neither dared speak, as if breaking the silence would disturb the new reality that hung in the air. Aiden sat in the center of the cabin, feeling the first light flow through every fiber of his being. It was no longer just a power. It was memory, knowledge, courage, and hope, all connected to the ancestors whose sacrifices had made humanity what it was meant to be. Outside, space seemed different, alive with faint pulses of golden energy that stretched across light years, touching planets, stars, and hidden worlds. Echo spoke softly, almost reverently. Signal readings indicate active first light resonance across multiple star systems. Human DNA markers detected in awakening state. Leah's eyes widened. You mean others are waking too? Aiden nodded slowly. Yes, humanity is not just surviving. It's remembering who it is. The Lightborn are returning. Marco exhaled heavily. I never thought we'd see this. All those myths, they were real. Aiden's gaze was fixed on the stars ahead. Not myths, he whispered. History hidden, buried in us, waiting for the right moment to rise. The crew looked at each other, feeling the weight of the moment. They were the first to awaken, but they would not be the last. Aiden stood and walked to the front of the ship, hands resting lightly on the controls. He could feel the golden threads of energy extending outward, connecting with human minds scattered across the galaxy, waking dormant memories, unlocking courage, power, and hope. The Drexer are still out there, he said quietly, and they will return. But now humanity has a chance to stand, to fight, to protect the universe as it always was meant to. Leah put a hand on his shoulder. Then we keep moving forward. We prepare. We fight when they come. Together. Aiden smiled faintly. Together, he agreed. Outside the ship, the stars shimmered differently, almost as if they recognized the presence of the Lightborn returning. Tiny golden pulses moved from planet to planet, signaling awakening across distant worlds, spreading hope and power in every corner of space. Odyssey. One moved forward, engines humming, glowing faintly as if carrying not just a crew but the essence of humanity itself. The crew worked silently, knowing the road ahead would be filled with danger, Drexer attacks, and trials that tested not only strength but wisdom, courage, and heart. But for the first time in countless generations, humans were no longer alone. They had memory, power, and the first light. They had their heritage, and they would rise to meet it. Aiden walked through the ship, feeling the energy inside him pulse in harmony with every system, every life, every spark of consciousness that could feel it. He remembered the ancient cities, the sacrifices, the hidden memory vaults, and the courage of ancestors who had sealed away their powers to keep the future safe. We are ready, he whispered, almost to himself. The universe knows we are here, and we will not be forgotten. Marco looked up from the engineering panel, eyes wide. You're glowing again, he said, voice trembling. Aiden nodded, letting the warmth expand. It was not a battle now, not yet. It was awakening, preparation, remembering who humanity truly was. And as Odyssey, one moved forward into the stars, they passed through regions untouched by humans for millennia. The golden pulses of the first light touched scattered human colonies, hidden worlds, and ancient ruins. On each world, people felt a stirring inside them, a memory of strength, courage, and hope they could not explain. On some, eyes glowed faintly. On others, small bursts of light shimmered across the land like a prelude to dawn. Aiden smiled faintly, sensing the vastness of what was happening. This is only the beginning, he said. Leah touched his arm gently. And we are leading the way. The ship passed into a region of stars that had been long dormant. Aiden felt the pulse of energy intensify, connecting every human, every star, every memory in a chain of light. The Drexer may return, he thought, but humanity was awake now. They were no longer hidden, no longer weak. The first light was alive in them, in their blood, their hearts, their minds. And together, they would rise to reclaim the universe. Odyssey, one surge forward, leaving a trail of golden light in its wake, a beacon for all humans still asleep, calling them home. The universe seemed to hold its breath as the golden glow spread farther, lighting distant planets and reminding them of their lost heritage. Aiden looked at his crew, at the ship, and at the stars, and whispered, "We have returned. Humanity has returned. And the dawn begins." And somewhere, far beyond the known stars, the shadows of the Drexer trembled as the first light awakened fully, promising a war unlike any the universe had ever seen. A war for humanity, for life, and for the future that had always belonged to the children of the first light.